In international politics, relationships between countries rise and fall, sometimes improving through cooperation, and other times being tested by disagreements. In 2025, one of the most closely watched diplomatic rivalries is between India and Canada. The two nations share deep cultural, economic, and educational ties. Over 1.6 million people of Indian origin live in Canada, making up almost 5% of its population. Thousands of Indian students travel to Canada every year to pursue higher education, while trade between the two countries has been steadily growing. And yet, despite these connections, the diplomatic tensions between India and Canada have escalated in ways that affect immigration, politics, trade, and global diplomacy. In this video, we will break down the causes of the conflict, the role of domestic and international politics, the impact on ordinary people, and what the future may hold. India and Canada have historically enjoyed warm relations. Both countries are part of the Commonwealth, they share values of democracy, and they have cooperated in areas like education, technology, and trade. However, the relationship has always had sensitive issues, particularly around the Sikh diaspora in Canada. Canada is home to one of the largest Sikh populations outside India, and over the years, debates about Khalistan separatism have created friction between New Delhi and Ottawa. While Canada promotes freedom of speech and assembly, India has often raised concerns that separatist activities on Canadian soil cross the line into anti-India extremism. The diplomatic crisis did not emerge overnight. In fact, it intensified in the early 2020s. In 2023, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau made public statements about the killing of a Sikh separatist leader in Canada, suggesting possible links to Indian agents. India strongly rejected these allegations, calling them baseless and politically motivated. In response, both countries expelled diplomats, reduced consular staff, and restricted visa services. The disagreements over these incidents continued into 2024, with each side refusing to back down. By the time 2025 arrived, relations were at one of their lowest points in decades. In 2025, tensions between India and Canada remain unresolved and, in some cases, have deepened. Visa and immigration policies. Canada had long been a top destination for Indian students and skilled workers. However, amid strained relations, visa processing delays increased, and new restrictions were introduced, making it harder for Indians to migrate to Canada. In return, India imposed restrictions on certain Canadian diplomats and delayed approvals for Canadian projects in India. Trade and Investment. India and Canada had been negotiating a comprehensive economic partnership agreement, SEPA, for years. But due to political tensions, talks stalled. Canadian companies reported more scrutiny in India, while Indian businesses in Canada complained of bureaucratic hurdles. Student community impact. Over 300,000 Indian students in Canada faced uncertainty. Many worried about their post-study work permits and permanent residency opportunities. Canada's reputation as a safe and welcoming destination for Indian students was questioned in the media. Diplomatic tensions between countries are often shaped by internal politics. In Canada, the Sikh diaspora plays a major role in politics, especially in provinces like Ontario and British Columbia. Canadian politicians often rely on the community's votes, which influences how they approach India-related issues. In India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government has taken a strong stance against separatism and extremism abroad, framing it as a matter of national security and sovereignty. This clash of domestic priorities has turned into a diplomatic standoff, where neither side wants to appear weak. The India-Canada tensions have not gone unnoticed globally. United States and UK, both countries maintain close relations with India and Canada. While they have encouraged dialogue, they have avoided taking sides. China and Pakistan. Analysts suggest that rivals like China and Pakistan benefit strategically from these tensions, as they weaken India's relations with Western allies. International organizations. Calls for transparency and dialogue have been made in forums like the United Nations and G20, but progress has been limited. This diplomatic rift is now part of the larger geopolitical chessboard, where alliances and rivalries are constantly shifting. Behind the headlines, It's the ordinary citizens who feel the consequences of these tensions the most. Students and workers. Delays in student visas, uncertainty about permanent residency, and stricter immigration rules have created anxiety among Indian youth aspiring to study or work in Canada. Families. Many families with members in both countries face emotional stress as travel restrictions and visa hurdles complicate family reunions. Businesses. Small businesses, particularly those in education consultancy, travel, and trade, have been hit by reduced cooperation. Despite political disagreements, the people-to-people ties between India and Canada remain strong. Festivals, cultural exchanges, and diaspora contributions continue to keep communities connected. The media in both countries has played a big role in shaping public opinion. Canadian media often frames the issue around freedom of speech and democratic values. Indian media focuses on national sovereignty and the dangers of extremism being sheltered abroad. These differing narratives sometimes create an information gap, where citizens in both countries have very different understandings of the same events. Even in the middle of conflict, there have been efforts at communication. Back-channel talks between diplomats have taken place, though without major breakthroughs. Business groups, student associations, and diaspora leaders have called for both governments to resolve differences for the sake of future generations. International allies continue to quietly encourage normalization of relations. However, the political will on both sides appears limited, as each government believes standing firm will serve their domestic political interests. So, what does the future hold for India-Canada relations in 2025 and beyond? Continued tensions. Unless there is a major diplomatic breakthrough, tensions are likely to continue, affecting visas, trade, and political exchanges. Diaspora diplomacy. The Indian diaspora in Canada will remain a central issue. Balancing free expression with India's security concerns will remain a challenge. Economic realities. Both countries stand to lose economically if relations remain strained. Students, businesses, and investors are already feeling the pressure. Geopolitical shifts. As India grows closer to other Western allies, Canada risks isolating itself if the tensions persist too long. The story of India versus Canada diplomatic tensions in 2025 is not just about governments and politicians. It is about people, communities, and futures. For India, it is about protecting sovereignty and countering extremism abroad. For Canada, it is about maintaining its democratic values and serving the interests of its diverse population. The challenge is finding common ground where dialogue replaces confrontation, and where cooperation can once again define the relationship. As we move further into 2025, one thing is certain: the world will be watching closely to see if these two democracies, connected by history and people, can overcome their differences and rebuild trust.